Hello, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Fancy seeing you here.
I know, right? What a coincidence. It's like somebody might have sent you a link or something. Maybe you're stalking me. Who knows?
I am. I'm a bit of a stalker.
Are you? Oh, that's nice to know. I'll bear that in mind. Remind me to
No, I'm really not. I'm really too lazy to stalk anyone or anything.
Yeah, so am I, actually. Well, welcome to Come Hither with Heather.
Thank you.
And thank you for accepting my invitation to join me on a live stream to talk all about you.
Me? No, I'm boring.
Yes.
It's an absolute pleasure, and thank you for extending that invitation.
Yes. Now, we're just going to say hello to a few people in order of appearance.
Okay.
I'll take the glasses off so they're not flashing on.
Oh, hi, everyone.
We have Drew's Adventures, Dee Newham. Oh, I can never pronounce your last. I'll just call you Dee. M&A Mystery Tours. We have Fairy Dragon is in the house.
Fairy Dragon. Oh, Jackie's here. Yay.
Annabelle TV is here.
Hi, Annabelle.
Annabelle. La 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 la. I have to scroll. Werner's here. Shandy's here.
All the cool kids.
All the cool kids are here. And Jackie, Ghostly Finding Paranormal, is here. Welcome. And Shelley Hines is in the house. And so is Pouts Perfume and Panning. And Stuart.
That's Tracy. Is it?
Tracy, yes, I do. I'd remembered just when you told me, yeah. Sorry. That's terrible. And we have Stuart McPhee, photography is here. And Werner, obviously. Werner's here. I don't know if I said hello to Werner yet. This morning I did. That'll do. Once is enough. Once a day is enough. Oh, I love you, Werner.
Is he just in the other room?
Yes. He's in the bedroom. I can hear us in simulcast behind me.
That's awesome.
Isn't that wonderful? Well, welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I haven't seen Nightbot yet, and I hope Nightbot is doing its
Nightbot's late.
It probably is very late. Okay, so
reliable.
I know. Well, we'll see. Well, hopefully. We have a raid coming up after my live stream, so I'm hoping you can not only stay with us for the next hour and be entertained and a little bit informed, but please we're going to head over to Drew's Adventures for his premiere almost straight after this stream. Anyway.
There's Nightbot. Oh, hang on. Otherwise, there's Nightbot.
There he is. And if you want to subscribe to Our Paranormal World, you can do that there. And I shall pin, I can't do it from here. I shall pin that to...
Hi, Dan.
I don't want to put user in timeout. I want to pin the message. So feel free.
Don't put Nightbot in timeout. He's your friend.
No, I can't. Hello, Dan. Welcome. I was going to join your live stream this morning, but unfortunately I had... important stuff to do, and we have got
Snark and Sass.
Wow, welcome.
Like the name.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a new name, a new face. So thank you very much for joining us, and I'm loving the pride, the progressive pride flag as your avatar. It's fantastic. I thought about doing the same thing myself, but I prefer my face, to be perfectly honest.
Your beautiful face.
Thank you. Okay, so Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself, the person behind the voice, I guess, because you don't really get on camera a lot, except for your live streams. So yeah, let's start with a little bit about you.
I'm actually trying to increase that face to camera thing. Because, I think sometimes it can be a little bit, I was going to say boring, and that probably is the word. All right, let's stick with boring, just with my voiceovers. And Having said that, I won't always be in front of the camera. But yeah, what about me? I'm
Yeah,
just a person.
we hope.
I'm not a robot. I've ticked that little checkbox successfully a number of times in my life. Yeah, I'm just a kind of, you know, paranormal enthusiast. And, most of the people, especially people like Dee and Shandy and Mark and Annette and yourself, you'll all know that I'm a bit of an on the fence person in regards to the paranormal. So I don't even really know if I believe as such. And that's why I started the channel, because I was doing all this research around paranormal theory. And I thought, this is fascinating. There's all these very, 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 and I mean very 3 times, compelling stories of paranormal experience that have been actually, confirmed by people who have no reason to lie, like police officers and
Yeah,
doctors and those kinds of people. And, when you get those sort of very compelling stories, you think, well, there has to be something going on. What
mm,
is going on? 250 something videos later, I don't know what's going on.
we still
I
don't
don't have
know.
any answers.
Just more
But
questions.
exactly, more questions. And that's one of the really great things about those live streams that we do, and when we chat about this kind of stuff, because people in the comments will have their opinions, and we've all got our own opinions. And I just think that that's the most wonderful thing, is listening to people, because the paranormal is kind of really anecdotal, isn't it? It's mostly based in stories, people's stories
Yeah,
of their experiences. And
yeah.
I love listening to those.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It is fantastic to hear other people's stories and experiences and so
Mhm.
forth, and analyze them to the hilt sometimes.
Well, some things are very, very obviously fake. The internet's filled with videos that you go, oh, that's pretty fake.
Yeah,
But there's the actual stories from people are much more fascinating. And especially when you know those people and you know that they're not, subject to hallucinations, or they're not on any massive amounts of medication that might make them see these kinds of things, and that they've affected them in this really kind of fundamental way. And when you hear those stories, I think, well, something literally has to be going on.
absolutely. Well, that's right. And Barbara Ann Breen is in the house, and
Hey, Bobs.
I think I saw Mim. Hello, Mim. Welcome in. Oh, I'm a poet. And I think that. They're the only 2 new ones. Sorry.
I just said I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you said it. I'm
Yeah,
just.
it just saves you saying it, doesn't it, Heather?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so let's talk about your channel a bit. All right. So what made you start and well, where did you get the name Our Paranormal World?
Well, COVID hit, right? I am my background is in social work, and I am not a social worker anymore, because I used to work in child safety, and that kind of killed my will to live. So I don't work in that anymore. And one of the girls that I used to work with, I'm a social worker, she's a psychologist, and we sort of
Yeah,
started chatting, and we thought, you know what, there really needs to be some advanced kind of uh, capacity for support of mental health of social workers and
yeah,
psychologists, people in the helping professions. So not just social workers and psychologists, but also your care providers and those kinds of people who burn out really quickly.
yeah,
Anyway, we started this consultation business, and we actually launched it on March the 6th, 2020. And if anyone has been paying attention, very quickly after that date, COVID just came and shut everything down. And so no one was looking to get any, mental health support for their teens during that kind of COVID freak out situation. And obviously COVID continued for a couple of years. And in that intervening time, I thought, well, I really want something to do. And I'd done all this paranormal research, and I thought, I'm just going to start making videos and make that YouTube channel that I've always said that I'd make. And actually she went to the job because she needed to pay her mortgage, which is kind of fair enough. And so our whole business venture it's just sat there. It's not like we had to outlay any great deal of money. It's just a framework. So it's just sat there. But I, since then have made, I think it's something like 259 videos in the intervening 2 years. And that's because I'm a massive nerd and I read a lot.
Yeah. I was as nerdy as you. I don't read as much as I need to. So where's your reading based? Is it based like book based, internet based?
Definitely both. You know what happens, and everyone in the comments will know what happens. You see something, it might be on a Facebook group or whatever, and you think, oh, I don't know about that. Is that real? And then you Google it and you research it, and then that leads you to something else. It mentions another sort of paranormal case or whatever, and it'll lead me to something else. And I am a nerd, Jackie. Massive. Look at me. Got glasses and everything. That's so stereotyping nerds. I'm so sorry to everyone with glasses.
Yes.
But that's what happens. You kind of it's down the rabbit hole, isn't it? But yeah, I've got a lot of books as well. My first video was Poltergeist Theory, and that theory that actually in poltergeist cases there isn't a ghost that is actually causing the phenomena, that it is there's a human agent who has a latent psychic ability to telekinetically actually, create this this phenomena. And it's a very interesting paranormal theory, because within the context of that, and I think everyone in the comments will probably know what I'm talking about, that a lot of the poltergeist cases tend to be those early teenage girls who are going through that hormonal rush and maybe have a difficult life, certainly with the Doris Byther case, the Entity case, and the Hernandez poltergeist. They were both women in their early 30s, so they didn't fit that mold, but obviously they had all of this stress in their life as well, which researchers suggest causes this spontaneous telekinesis, which is just one of the most fascinating things on the planet. And I've said many, many times that ghosts that can chuck stuff around are pretty scary, right? But to think that maybe your next door neighbor has this latent telekinetic ability to chuck shit around as well. Like, oh, sorry, I swore.
No, that's okay. If it helps, tip your bum. There you go. Don't feel so bad.
But that's terrifying as well, that someone can have this ability and unconsciously be inflicting this trauma upon themselves. That's really fascinating. And so there's this whole arm of psychology called abnormal psychology, and that might not actually be the term, but it's essentially what it is, where thanks, Shandy, where they look at those anomalies within the human brain and determine that actually some paranormal phenomena is based within this abnormal psychology in people. So that link just makes this really fascinating, because in the Doris Byther case, if we assume that she was actually generating this phenomena herself, the researchers in that case were able to actually photograph light anomalies in her room. You know, there's this famous photo of her sitting there on the bed, and there's this arc of light above her. So that would suggest then that these phenomena that they can generate with their minds are externally observable by other people and can be photographed, which is absolutely fascinating. And look, Snark and Sass, I completely agree. We've got all this, you know, enormous brain that we just don't know what we're doing. And, you know, under stress, there's all sorts of stuff. How can we explain Mark's poltergeist activity? Well, I mean, I guess on that level, Shelley, and although Mark wouldn't want that to happen consciously, subconsciously, you know, probably Sigmund Freud could have a field day with this. Is he punishing himself? Is he, you know, considering the amount of stress that he's under, inflicting this on himself? Or in that sort of same vein, is there someone else that's actually inflicting that on him? And I mean, I don't think you can rule out either. You can't say categorically that this is not a ghost. You can't. And you can't say categorically that this is not an actual person causing it, which is why it's so fascinating, and which is why I sit forever on my little position on the fence.
Oh, gosh, yes. So what do you think it would take for someone to have kinetic energy or the energy to be able to, you know, move shit around? See, I just...
Well, you know, we know that, for example, people can psychically predict things. People do. And we know that there's many cases. The David Booth, who had the dream premonitions of the crash of, hey, Kanka, of Flight 191, he psychically predicted that. So if we know that people can have precognition at that level, and if we assume that maybe people can telepathically send messages to someone, you know yourself, Heather, you've probably been thinking of a friend and then they call, or whatever. If we know that that can happen, then it's not much of a stretch to think that people with their mind can actually move objects. The Columbus poltergeist, Christina, can't think of her last name, Christina anyway, in that she was a teenage girl and the parapsychologists from UCLA actually went and, UCLA? No. Anyway, one of the parapsychology departments back then in the 80s tested her in their labs because all this poltergeist stuff was happening in her house. And Christina Aguilera, no, Shandy, but yeah, no, good mention. Yeah, all this poltergeist stuff was happening in her house. So, and they suspected that it was actually not physically caused by her, but caused by her. So they took her away and took her into the lab. And within that lab setting, she was able to, at times, generate some of this activity. But it's not a conscious thing that they do. It's unconscious or subconscious or whatever. And so it's not easy to replicate in that way that science wants results that can be replicated every time.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you know, she was able to do it and they were able to get it. And then if they said, do it again, she wouldn't be able to do it again.
No.
So, you know, science says, well, clearly she didn't do it then.
Yeah, science. Yeah. They like
science is difficult to convince.
It is, absolutely. Even when it's staring them right in the face.
Right.
Wow. You've got some amazing theories. In actual fact, I feel so dumb now because...
I'll get over it. No way. It's just, this is the stuff that I completely... Oh, look, there's a comment. Hang on. I'm not pointing. Oh, far out. Can I figure out? No.
That one? Oh, do you know who it was?
Mark and Annette. Love your hair.
Oh, thank you. I thought I'd try something different. I used to straighten it, but then I went curly, and Now I'm thinking of straightening
Look, I
things.
agree, Shelley. I don't think that there's any way that you can say, like I said, categorically, it's not ghosts or it's not the mind. And maybe there is the same. If, excuse me, if humanity has this enormous latent capacity within our brains, why wouldn't we actually have that soul capacity as well? Obviously, they're two separate things, but certainly, with our souls, potentially that energy can live on. And, I don't necessarily think that science is going to answer that question in the near future.
No, it probably won't. I don't think we'll ever get any answers until we die ourselves and know what it's like.
But the really fascinating thing about that whole poltergeist theory is they talk about particular parts of the brain that fire, and that people that are prone to epilepsy actually are more susceptible to these poltergeist occurrences happening within their sort of realm of existence.
Wow.
So that's really fascinating. Doris By, the lady from the Entity case, hey, Scratch and Pete, she died, I think, in the late 80s or early 90s, and no one's exhumed her corpse to check whether or not she had these particular anomalies in the function or in the physicality of her brain. But yeah, certainly there's a little bit of research on the people who are actually experiencing poltergeist activity, and it would suggest that maybe they've got some fundamental physical difference in their brain to the rest of us.
Absolutely, yeah, that's for sure. Your thoughts on Ouija board, and I'm asking this for a specific reason because I'm going to tell you a story in a minute. But yeah,
oh, I like stories, that.
Well, there's not much of a story really. Hi, Scratch and Pete, welcome, and a couple of others that have come in. Kanga Blue just turned up. And
look, I've just got to apologise to everyone in advance because I'm drinking Kahlua. So if I get a bit, how's your father?
My father's doing very well, thank you.
All right, and I'm smoking. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm a filthy smoker.
Go ahead. That's fine. Yeah.
So Ouija boards.
Mm.
Well, you know what? When I was, I think 15, which is probably about 600 years before Christ was born, a friend at school said, if you do this Ouija board thing, you can contact ghosts. And we're like, holy shit, really? That'd be really great. As you do when you're 15. And so we did, I love you, Jackie. We did this, whole Ouija board thing in my bedroom. I mean, obviously it had to happen in my bedroom, where we made, the Ouija board with the letters and just had a glass and some candles. And there is absolutely, I think there was like 6 of us at the time. And if you talk to those girls, even today, some of them won't talk about what happened because they were so terrified. Obviously, everyone's just kind of heard my sort of latent psychic ability theories, and that's if I had to put a leg on one side or the other of the fence, it would probably be that people cause the phenomena. So,
yes, of course, yeah.
Within that context of Ouija boards, the collective will of the people who are there cause this to happen. The interesting thing is that the spirit that we contacted when I was 15, her name was Sonia, and she actually said that I was going to die on my 18th birthday.
Ooh.
I am now 50.
Yay, happy birthday. Life begins at 50, trust me.
Well, life's not too bad. I can't complain.
But listener
pretty
care.
crap prediction. So what I'm saying is, if you ever contact Sonia at a Ouija board, don't trust her Powerball number predictions. That's all I'm saying.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah,
that
Kanka, Hollywood does have a lot. You know, the whole Ouija board thing became like considered evil after The Exorcist, and it's just kind of blown out of proportion. And with anything, you know, like, you could take a Panadol, right? If you've never taken a Panadol in your life and someone says to you, if you take that Panadol, you're going to get a tummy ache, you'll probably get a tummy ache, because that's what the power of suggestion does within the human mind.
absolutely.
And so if you believe that Ouija boards are evil, or Ouija boards might be risky, or you're going to contact a spirit, then, you know, these are self-fulfilling prophecies, and probably it will actually happen.
Absolutely. That's what I always say. People ask me, you know, what equipment I use when I ghost hunt and so forth. And I say I will usually only use equipment that I feel comfortable with. And that includes the Ouija board. I don't feel comfortable using a Ouija board, which means if my discomfort is there, then obviously it's going to generate potentially something not very nice. So I stick to what I feel comfortable with. If people feel comfortable using a Ouija board, it's maybe a different story. Who knows? But
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I asked this is because you know, especially leading on from your telekinetic discussions, your psyche discussions, back in 1994. I studied at Lutheran Teachers College. Some of you may or may not already know that. Postgraduate degree in teaching, and
Oh,
I did some research into the Salem witch trials. Now, this is before computers, so this was old-fashioned, catalog index and library cards and photocopying stuff. And I actually found out that the witch hysteria that began in Salem and we stuck to Salem, nowhere else, just to Salem, that it started with three young girls, three sisters, all of about, from memory, oh God, this is 95, going back, 30 years ago,
yep.
in their teens, who played with the Ouija board and experienced poltergeist activity, quite possibly possessed, I do believe. And of course, they blamed it on Mrs. down the road because they didn't want to tell people they were playing with the Ouija board, and she's a witch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that's basically where it came from, if memory serves me correctly. So that's just a useless piece of information. So I have to wonder, those three girls, they sort of fit the idea of what generating your own, what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't actually heard that about those girls, and it certainly wasn't in the movie with, oh, now I can't think of his name. He was a very, very good-looking actor. Anyway, doesn't matter. But oh, it had Winona Ryder in it as well. Anyway,
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, you could, if you looked at that from a purely psychological perspective, you could go, okay, well, these girls contacted what they believed was spirits. Obviously, somehow within their own psychological makeup, someone was able to manipulate this unconsciously, and completely. When you do something unconsciously like that, you don't know it's happening, so you're just as frightened as everyone else.
Yep.
And then starts this chain of events. Obviously, the witch phenomena was alive and well throughout Europe, so that was something that was really easy for them to grab onto.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. So just going to change the subject a little bit.
Sure.
Little bit. It's so it's less heavy. And you started your YouTube channel 2 years ago. Did I hear that correctly? 2 or 3 years ago?
March 2020.
March,
End of March 2020.
end of March 2020.
Yeah.
2 years on, you've got 5,000 subs, over 5,000 subscribers. What? That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Is that because you've got the sexiest voice in the world, or?
You know what? If you read through the comments on my videos, which obviously would be an extraordinarily long and boring exercise, given that I've got over 250 videos, I've had comments that range from, "Oh my God, this is the most wonderful voice to listen to," right through to, "You have the most boring voice," and
Really?
"This is the worst accent in the world." So
Oh
I think everyone has their own opinion, but this is just the voice I've got.
yeah. It's amazing. I could listen to it all day, literally.
It's well, you wouldn't want to, because I can talk some extraordinarily fertile crap, and you literally could grow roses in it, and it's just, yeah, really quite astonishing. But thank you. I'm sincerely pleased that you think so.
Mm. And
I,
so,
I I don't know why. I mean, I guess everyone in the comments who's got a channel, you probably expect, because you see all these channels that have got millions of subscribers, you probably expect that you're going to get lots of subscribers fairly quickly. And when you actually start, you realize that it's a really long and slow process to get these subscribers. And, in the end, even if you've got 1 million subscribers, it doesn't mean you're going to get 1 million views for every video either.
yeah,
Half of them are non-active subscribers.
that's true.
It's a very, very, very interesting little world as a YouTuber, isn't it?
Hello, Patma.
Petma. Oh, you're a sweetheart, Jackie. And the thing is like, not everyone likes every accent. So, when they said this is the worst accent in the world, I'm like, yeah, I kind of, whatever. It doesn't kind of bother me. I know I kind of like the South African accent, but I know a lot of people don't like that. That's
Yeah, I
okay.
love the South African accent. I think it's amazing. Just
I'm glad you.
yes.
It's very.
Oh, it's a train. Yeah, people often tell me when I was teaching and I would tell stories, people often tell me that I had a very soothing voice to listen to, and my storytelling technique was fantastic. So I was actually thinking of getting into telling stories, but I'm not sure yet. I think I might just stick to what I'm doing.
I
But
love how you do what you do. It
thank
is so engaging, and you've got this extraordinary presence and this wonderful sense of humor. But
Oh, thank you.
if I walk around anywhere, I'm so boring. I'm like, oh, look at that. But you're like, oh, cracking jokes, and it just it cracks me up.
Hey, so
Having
what?
said that, it always helps if you've got, obviously within any sort of business enterprise, if you over specialize, then your field is quite narrow, isn't it? So if you diversify a little bit, then potentially you've got more scope.
Absolutely. So what's the weirdest? What's the one thing, like the story? Is there a story that sticks out to your mind that's like the weirdest story? I mean, you've got a lot of them, obviously. Is there one that sticks to your mind? Like the craziest, the funniest, the most ridiculous, or even 2 or 3? I don't know. What are you laughing at?
Well, I'm thinking of crazy stories. I don't know if that's suitable for family viewing, but one of the things that actually got me really, really interested, and some of the people who are watching will probably have heard this before from me, is my girlfriend. She is one of my favorite people. I've known this person since I was 14 years old. She's an extraordinarily stable and level-headed woman. You know, like, if it means anything to anyone in the comments, she's a Capricorn. So she's very down to earth. She's not, you know, subject to flights of fancy. And anyway, so that's her background. And I trust her implicitly. Goodness, Werner, get back in your box.
Yes. Don't you make me come in there.
Yeah, we'll all come in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, she told me that when she was pregnant with her second daughter, her mother died when she just after she had her first child, and her two daughters are very, very close together in age. So her mother died and she got pregnant with her second, and she was really quite heavily pregnant with her second, and she was home from work and she was having a nap on the couch, and the phone rang and she was asleep. And so in her dream, there's this phone ringing, but she wakes up and then hears that the actual phone is ringing. So she gets up and she goes and answers the phone, and there's this voice, and it says, "Suze, it's Mum. I just want to let you know that I'm proud of you. And my girlfriend is possibly the most feisty person that you've ever met, and you don't want to cross her." And she said, like, down the phone, she's like, "How dare you, imitate my mum? My mum's dead," and blah, 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 blah. She got really crabby and hung up the phone. And she kind of, obviously thought about it, but she tried not to think about it. Anyway, 2 weeks later, she was at a shopping centre on the other side of Perth City. And she was doing some shopping for her mother-in-law. And she was walking along in this shopping centre, and this woman ran out from a jewellery store and grabbed her, and like physically grabbed her and said, "Get this woman out of my head. Margie wants me to tell you that she's sorry she frightened you with the phone call." And my girlfriend's mother's name is Margaret, or was Margaret, and everyone called her Margie. And my girlfriend was just like, "Oh my God." And, she just wasn't able to cope. And obviously I've told her off because she didn't question this woman enough, as per my expectations. But, she just went, "You know what, get away from me." She said to this woman, "Just get away from me." And, but, she told me this story. And so I'm thinking, okay, I know her. I know that she's not lying to me. This isn't a made-up story. So it happened. And in my head, I go, okay, well, she could have dreamed the phone call. But how the hell did this woman in the jewellery store know about it?
Absolutely.
So that story is possibly the most astonishing. And, it was one of those stories that just got my head ticking. And what is happening? Something's clearly happening. What is it?
Wow, that's just phenomenal, isn't it?
Well, because we all would hate to think that the people that we love are just lingering about. Like, that's just what religion's about, isn't it? You go to heaven, or you get this eternal rest. Eternal rest. You're not lingering about, like, trying to send people messages going, "Oh, I'm really sorry about this," or "I'm sorry about that."
I don't know. I think for me, it would be quite comforting. I'd love to get a message. I reckon I do still get messages from my dad. I used to have dreams like they were real. They were literally real. And I remember them so vividly that my dad would come to me. We'd be up at the shack or in a place that was a happy place for us as either a family or whatever. And we'd be talking, just general chit chat. And then all of a sudden I'd realize, "Dad, you're supposed to be dead." And he goes, "Don't worry about it. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Everything's good."
And that's all he said?
And that's all he said. Everything's fine.
Wow.
Don't worry about it. And then I wake up or the dream stops. I don't know what happens then, but for whatever reason, the dream stops, whether I wake up or it just stops. That's it. And that happens to me quite often in my dreams. So I wonder if that's Dad,
Actually, your father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just coming into my dreams. I don't know. I'd like to think so, actually.
Well, potentially it is a really comforting thought.
Yes. I did an investigation at Karlsruhe Cemetery where my dad's buried. And this is going back many, many years ago. I haven't listened to I've recorded it, but I haven't been able to listen to the recording. And he said, I asked him, so where are he? He goes, I'm in heaven, he said. And I said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm holding hands with Nita. And that was his sister.
Oh.
Yes.
And what was that vocalization caught on? Was it on a...
I recorded it on... I used the PBS 7.
Okay, so it was a straight voice recorder.
Yeah, and I recorded...
Not a ghost box or anything.
It was a ghost box, like the PBS 7 ghost box, yes. But I recorded the conversation on an audio, one of those dictaphone things. I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, that was amazing. So yeah, I don't know. I tend to like to think that Dad's out there somewhere looking after me, still, like he's always done. I don't know. Hopefully, he's at peace as well.
Well, potentially both are actually the case. Maybe, if we use the concept of heaven, maybe you can go to heaven, but still reach across that barrier to the people you love. I mean, we don't know, right?
Yeah, who knows? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, UFOs, what are your thoughts on UFOs and aliens and things? I think I already know this, but let's share anyway.
Well, I mean, I think it's probably quite arrogant to think that we're the only planet with life on it in the multiverse. Having said that, I think that humanity is particularly bad at identifying intelligence and life. So, we might be able to come across another planet that is teeming with life, but we don't necessarily recognize it as life. And we don't necessarily recognize it as intelligent life. How long have we been on this planet, and we've only just started to acknowledge that things like octopuses are intelligent? It just is. I think, unfortunately, we're limited by our own understanding as humans, and there's definitely potential for lots to be out in the universe. Whether or not they're actually abducting people and probing cows, or is it the other way around? I don't know. Then
I don't know. I would mind a good massage myself,
Heather's like, beam me up. Yeah, whether or not they're doing that, I don't know. But again, within that context, certainly people who are, when you look at people's motivations for actually disclosing this kind of contact with aliens, they don't seem to gain a lot. And in fact, what they actually gain mostly is a lot of bloody ridicule. And why would you subject yourself to that high-level scrutiny and ridicule just to fabricate some sort of bogus story?
Absolutely.
I'm not convinced the people are lying. Whether or not, maybe they sort of were out in the fields and grabbed a couple of gold tops and scoffed them down before this UFO encounter. I don't know, but
I've seen the UFO myself, so I believe in them.
Have I ever heard that story?
I probably have told you. I was in my teen years. I was outside having a cigarette at my parents' house, and I saw a cartoon style UFO thing, with the dome and the rim, and it was just throbbing like that. It was just pulsating, and it was just standing there.
So it was a light.
Yeah, like a light. Yeah, like the whole thing was glowing, and it was like one big glowing. I think it was red light. No, it wasn't a brothel either. So, Red Loop, sorry.
Yeah,
If I have to explain it, it's not worth telling
look
you.
at that.
But I'd move forward and it would move back. I'd move a couple of steps forward and it would move back. Then next thing you know, it just flew across the sky and disappeared. And I'm like, wow, that was weird. I don't tell that story very often, but now it's out there in YouTube land. It's
Everyone's going to be clipping that bit out and going, look, this is Heather's story.
yes.
Was it small in relation to you, or was it distant? What?
It was very distant. It looked like it was a long, long way away. But it was very small. And, well, I mean, define small. I mean, I've got no sense of depth anyway.
Well, it's difficult when you're looking at something in the sky.
And you don't know what it is, and you're like, what's that? And then you think about it, and then you sometimes when you think back, sometimes I wonder if I overthink things. So I tried to keep my explanation as simple as possible, going back to how I felt at the time, watching this thing pulsate and looking at it and moving forward and it moving back. You know, the way clouds do as you're walking and they sort of follow you.
But you had the real sense that it kind of matched your movement.
Yes, absolutely.
That's interesting.
And it was at night time. It was at night time. So
Stuart
anyway,
McPhee Photography said he's seen a UFO that came over the farmhouse, and there was. How old were you? Smoking, so probably at least 7.
I'm seen you.
Speaking of smoking.
8 years, 6 years old, 8 years old, yes. Now, I have to be mindful of the time. It is 9:20, so we've got to go in 10 minutes. Does anybody have any? I'd love to chat to you for another hour, but I'd like to keep my life.
I'm so sorry I've waffled for that long.
No, that's okay. It's been very, very interesting. As I said, I'd love to go on for another hour, but I do like to keep my streams going on just on the hour-ish part. So does anybody have any questions for Kim before we say hooroo? They're probably none now. They've probably already been asked ages and ages ago, and I've missed them or ignored them or whatever.
It's hard to keep a track. I'm sorry, guys. It really is hard to keep a track on the comments when you're babbling like I do.
It is. I find it hard to concentrate on the comments at the best of times, but mainly because I like to focus on the person I'm interviewing.
I'm talking to you, and I'm like looking in your eyes as if we're like in the same room.
I know, it feels really weird, doesn't it? I could just reach into the screen and take that glass and have a swallow.
Anyone jealous? You want some Kahlua? I mean, I'm going to say this is straight Kahlua.
I've got coffee straight. Oh. Does anybody have any questions for the last 10 minutes? Because I haven't even gotten onto the Yeti. Haven't looked at Bigfoot. Min likes.
Oh, D, no. Look, I'm going to apologise because all of anyone who comes to my live stream on a Saturday, not every Saturday, but every second Saturday, knows that I've been trying to quit smoking. And the chewies have been working, but unfortunately, D, I've been kind of really dreadfully stressed recently. And that's just a personal thing in my life. And everyone who smokes knows that these are the crutch of the very stressed. So sorry, D. I'll keep trying though. I'm not a quitter, or I am a quitter. I don't know what that means if you don't quit quitting. Spirit animals
has a Kim. Everyone needs a Kim in their life, don't they? Has a question. What's your opinion on spirit animal guides and spirit animal guardians?
I mean, like, if we're going to believe that the human organism can have a soul, i.e. a spirit, then there is absolutely no reason why other organisms can't also have that. We know that things like dogs and cats and clearly owls and snakes are self-aware. We know that. And So if that's the requirement to have a soul or a spirit, then why can't they? I think that, you know, there's cat people and there's dog people, and there's people that like horses, and there's people that hate horses, and there's people that like dolphins, and there's people that don't really care. And I think that resonance of why you like a particular animal maybe is something inbuilt in your spirit. I don't know. But it could be a spirit kind of guide situation. Anyone who knows me knows that I actually don't think that there are any absolutes within the paranormal, because this is all stuff that we just don't know the answers to. And so anything's possible.
Yes. Okay, so Drew's Adventures asks, Kim, has there ever been a time when you felt truly frightened by a paranormal experience? If so, what and where did it happen?
Okay, I'll try to condense this because I'm looking, we've only got like 9 minutes. I saw the Hat Man when I was 16. I didn't know at the time that it was the Hat Man, and I still don't know for sure that it was the Hat Man. But this particular figure was looking in a window in my house when I was 16 years old. And I was absolutely, literally, I think that clock's throwing shade at me. Anyway,
It's wrong.
whatever
Anyway.
clock. I was literally like completely frozen with fear. That was the first time in my life that I'd ever had a real understanding of what being frozen with fear meant. This hatted figure, very tall, with that kind of hat man hat, was looking in my house, and the figure was looking in a window that was on this side of the house, and then walked around and looked in one on that side of the house, and I was 16, right, and my brother was 4 years older than me, so he was 20, and he was in the next room. But to get to his room, you had to walk out of my room, through the family room, open a door, and then up the hallway to his doorway. Anyway, so I'm laying in bed thinking I'm terrified. My mum and dad had divorced many years, and so it was only me and my mum and my brother. And I'm laying in bed, Hat Man at the window, and I'm going, Wayne, Wayne. Literally in that voice, because my brother's name's Wayne, right? Wayne. And thinking, he cannot hear me. And because I'm frozen with fear, I'm like, holy moly, getting the I guess courage to shout out, Wayne, which I did. And my mum and my brother kind of ran out, and I said, there's this dude with a hat been looking in the window. And the thing about my house was that you couldn't actually get into my backyard where my window was without making a hell of a lot of noise with this really noisy gate, or climbing over a 6-foot corrugated concrete board fence. And so you couldn't do it quietly. And when I shouted, the figure went. My mum and my brother came running. They went out in the backyard. No one was in the backyard, and no one had made any noise leaving. So to this day, I still don't know what that figure was. But someone, probably when I was about 9 years ago, suggested to me, you saw the Hat Man. And I went, oh, okay. I thought it was just like a weird pervert in a hat. Which, both explanations are just as likely.
Yes, you see, my next question would have been, can you explain the Hat Man? But I don't think we've got enough time for you to explain the Hat Man, but that's all right. Have you made a video on the Hat Man? You have?
There is a video on that exact story.
Okay. If somebody can, do you know what it's called?
Oh, I don't know. Something Hat Man. But it's just where I talk about that experience, and
Yeah.
it is. But no, I haven't actually. I mean, that's a good thing. Maybe I could make a video on the universal concept of the Hat Man, because some people, talk about him being a harbinger of doom, and other people talk about the Hat Man being, simply a protective presence, which is obviously quite contradictory in those two theories. But
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, my lovely, I am going to, wind this down and wind up and do my thank yous and all that. First of all, I want to thank Drew and Barbara. They've been wonderful doing their admin moderator duties. That's fantastic. I have noticed that in the chat. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and listening. I'd like to, we had 22 at most. I'd like to say that was, they were here to see me, but I have a feeling it's because Kim was on, which is fine. I'll write off anyone's coattails, I don't care. I'm happy to do that. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Kim from Our Paranormal World, for being on my live stream today.
I love you.
Our Paranormal World has the link's been dropping all night. If you haven't connected, I've got Our Paranormal World on my homepage under my featured guests for 2022. You're doing a live stream tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, almost the same time, but an hour earlier than this tonight was.
Yep. So tune in for that for more shenanigans. And I tell you what, Our Paranormal World is full of shenanigans. That I might even show you my ghost doodle.
We love ghost doodles.
We love ghost doodle. I could almost show it now, but I won't. We're running out of time. So thank you. Hopefully I'll catch you next week. I might have a video drop tomorrow. In the meantime, feel free, please, if you don't mind, head on over to Drew's Adventures. His link is pinned in the comments above. We'll rate his video next. His starts at 9:35. So grab yourself a coffee.
Is it a live stream, Drew?
No, it's not. It's a premiere.
All right. I've kind of never heard of Drew, and I don't have the ability to get access to this link at the moment. So, but I'll search it as soon as I get off, and I'll find Drew's Adventures because I can see
he's on my front page too, because we're explorers. And I have
like that. So this is me and Heather.
Yes,
that's me over here.
Yeah. Oh.
I love you. You're awesome.
Bits. Thank you so much. And I shall bid you all good night. Mwah. And end broadcast.